back to EC Technist. In this lecture, we'll be discussing about the formal methods for designing the pass transistor logic. So this is the PTL model. It has the input, output and control signal. When the input and control both are 0, then the output is in high impedance state in case of NMOS transistor. But in case of PMOS transistor, the output is 0. And for the input to be 1 and control to be 0, the output is high impedance state. And the input to be 1 and control to be 0, the output is 1 again for PMOS. Similarly, for 0, 1 and 1, 1 condition, the output of NMOS is 0 and 1, whereas for PMOS it is high impedance state. Now we'll discuss about the XOR model, XOR gate using the pass transistor logic. So this is the truth table of XOR gate. Let us take A as the control signal and observe the truth table. If A is 0, B, the output Y is B, and if A is equal to 1, output Y is equal to B bar. So based on this logic, we have to write the XOR gate circuit. Here A is the control signal and B and B bar is the input, whereas Y is the output. So this is how you represent the pass transistor logic structure for XOR gate. This is one very important question that is asked in most of the exams. Draw the PTL of XOR gate. And the next one is challenges and consideration in the pass transistor logic. So we need to consider voltage degradation, that is VTH drop, and the output may not reach fully when the threshold voltage is lost, and increased internal node capacitance. Merging of source and drain regions make the pass transistor logic design complex, leading to higher internal capacitance. And there is also requirement of true as well as complemented version of control variables. So best practices for PTL or pass transistor logic would be using the pre-charged output nodes and also the complementary pass networks, that is the CVSL logic. And next we'll discuss about electrical and physical design of logic gates. First one is inverter. So first you have to draw the schematic of inverter, that is PMOS transistor is connected to power supply VDD and NMOS transistor is connected to the ground VSS. When input is applied to both the transistors, output is taken at a point that is common between the PMOS drain and NMOS drain. In the schematic, connections are represented by lines. However, in the physical layout, we will be drawing the polysilicon diffusion region and the metal layers. So here the physical layout consideration diagram would look like this. This is the symbolic representation. When you'll be using Cadence in your VLSI lab, you might have seen this diagram. After you draw the schematic, you'll get the symbol. So after you draw the symbol, so this is how the symbol looks, and gate connection is made using the polysilicon wire. And this is the standard layout of CMOS inverter. Here you can see the metal layers, polysilicon, as well as the connection between PMOS and NMOS transistor. And this is the alternate layout diagram, which is aligned horizontally, whereas this is vertical diagram. And horizontal metal strips with vertical polysilicon. So this is the metal line must pass through the cell, and the vertical polysilicon connects the transistor drains. And the next one is power and ground in diffusion. Power rails and ground rails are the blue color lines, which are made up of polysilicon, and they are horizontal metal connections. Next, coming to the performance consideration, vertical polysilicon drain connection introduces extra resistance and capacitance that is given by equation R total is approximately equal to 2 times R contact plus R polysilicon, that is resistance of the metal polysilicon contact and the resistance of the polysilicon wire. So the second metal layer can be used for VDD and VSS supply lines. Layout remains largely unchanged except for the addition of metal 2 wires and metal 1 connection stub. So this is the CMOS inverter layout using additional metal layers. And next is the large inverter design. A large inverter is designed by parallelizing these small inverters. So here you can see the source and drain are merged to reduce the resistance, and the diffusion regions are stitched together to minimize the parasitic capacitance. So by placing transistors back to back, we can optimize the drain capacitance. So this is the back to back transistor placement for large inverters. And we also have advanced drain capacitance reduction. So whenever we design any circuit, the parameters that we keep in mind is the power consumption, delay, and the switching speed. So here similarly we'll try to advance the drain capacitance reduction. So it mainly depends upon the transistor gain beta. No corner gaps exist in this region, and the effective gain is quadrupled, that is 4 times, with minimal drain area increase. So this is the star connection for CMOS inverter layout optimization. Next, after inverter, we'll discuss about NAND gate. So initially you have to draw the schematic of the 2 input NAND gate, and then horizontal transistor orientation. So this is the basic layout translation of 2 input NAND gate, whereas this is the optimized layout for NAND gate with horizontal transistor orientation. And the next one is the design style. Transistors are oriented horizontally, whereas polysilicon gates signals run vertically. And the NAND gate could be rotated by 90 degrees to have a vertical metal and horizontal polysilicon connection. And the next one is NOR gate. NOR gate is the opposite of NAND gate, and here you can see the symbol as well as the schematic representation of NOR gate. So this is the VDD and VSS rail, and next is the alternative layout for faster performance. So alternative layout is shown in this figure, where the connection to the parallel transistors is optimized. So alternative layout is mainly advantage when you represent the layout of any gates. So one thing is it reduces the drain area connected to output and also faster gate operations. Next, the factors implementing the complex gate design would be the series transistor connection, body effect, source to drain capacitance, as well as the charge redistribution. So this we have discussed in the previous module also, that is body effect. Body effect refers to the modification of threshold voltage due to the difference between the source and the substrate terminal. So delta Vt is equal to gamma into square root of VSB, that is the threshold voltage variation expression, where delta Vt is the change in the threshold voltage and VSB is the source to body voltage. And the proportionality constant gamma depends on the fabrication process. So what is the impact on NAND gate? In a multi-input NAND gate, the NMOS transistors at the output switches slower because of its potential, and it's not the same as that of the substrate region. So this is the multiple input NAND gate, which is affected by the body effect. And here you can see the output for various values of input, that is A, B, C and D. Initially the NMOS transistors A, B and C are off, and NMOS transistor D is turned on. So when D is turned on, VGS D is equal to VDD, that is the gate to source voltage is equal to the VDD. When the transistor D is switched off, internal node capacitance C1 gets charged. So here this is the internal node capacitance C1 that is getting charged, and if all the inputs are then driven high, that is the VGS-A, VGS-B and VGS-C is equal to VDD, the source of the transistor D will be at VDD minus VT, that is the total voltage minus the threshold voltage. So minimizing the body effect is very important, that is minimizing the internal load capacitance and also reducing the parasitic charge effect. If an NMOS body gate effect is worse, using NOR gates instead of NAND gates is preferable. And next is optimization techniques. In optimization techniques, we have 2 types of techniques, that is optimized transistor placement, that is place transistors with late arriving signal closest to the output, and the next one is minimizing the internal node capacitance. and use metal interconnects instead of diffusion wires. In this way we can reduce the internal node capacitance. So these are some of the optimization techniques. Next is the physical layout of logic gates. There are different types of representation of CMOS circuit. So this is the graph representation. So here you can see this is the CMOS logic gate representation using the NMOS and PMOS. If you want to represent it in the form of a graph, so first you have to plot the points A, B, C and D, and based on the direction of flow of current, one for the CMOS network and another for the PMOS network. So based on the flow, direction of flow, you have to represent the arrows. So this is how you represent the logical gate graph representation. And another important representation is Euler's path, in which if two edges are adjacent in the P or N graph, then they may share a common source to drain terminal. So first, the main algorithm for finding such path is find all the Euler paths in the graph, that is the possible paths that are present in the circuit, and then identify a P and N Euler path with identical labeling. So first you plot the points and then find the path. After that you identify the P and N Euler path, and if there is nothing that exists between both the paths, you have to break the gate and the minimum number of places to achieve this condition. So this is how you represent the Euler's path in CMOS gate and its corresponding layout. Next is the automated layout techniques. So this is the automated layout techniques. Initially you will draw only the VDD and VSS rails, that is the power and ground rails, along with the input. Whenever there is connection between the two inputs, then you will place the PMOS and NMOS transistor in between, and then arrange the transistors towards VDD and VSS, and then route the channel. So in this approach, group the transistors in strips to maximize the source or drain, and then interchange polysilicon columns to improve the abutment, and then place the transistor groups in rows with VDD and ground rails at the edge. Then perform route connection using the metal and diffusion wires. So similarly, the next concept is input-output structures, also called as IO structures. It is critical in VLSI due to their sensitivity to both circuit design and process-specific characteristics. So there are certain library cells that are used for designing. So this is the connection, that is the standard pad size is 150 micrometer cross 150 micrometer, and the connection points are VDD or VSS, that is placed consistently for uniformity, and VSS is placed as the outermost rail for protection. So this is the general pad layout. This is the auto-generated code for from text description, that is you have to mention what is present at the left, that is input A, input B, and top is VDD for, and then input C, and right and bottom. You have to mention what are the inputs IO frames that is present in each direction, and this is the IO frame generation. Next is the VDD and VSS pad, that is simple metal pads that connect directly to the power rails. And next is the output pad. It sufficiently drives the strength to drive the capacitive load, and also it is the output region, that is apply latch-up protection and separate NMOS or PMOS regions. Next is the input pad. One critical issue that must be addressed in input pad is the electrostatic discharge or the ESD protection. So the equation for voltage is given by I into delta T divided by Cg, where I is the charging current and delta T is the charging time, whereas Cg is the gate capacitance. This is one example such where high voltages can easily exceed the oxide breakdown voltage, and ESD protection, that is the electrostatic discharge protection, using clamp diodes and series resistance. So clamp diodes D1 and D2 are present along with the series resistor R. And another very important concept is tri-state pads. Tri-state pads are based on the tri-state inverter design. So here you can see inverter which is connected to NAND and NOR gate, further which is connected to the NMOS and PMOS along with the pad at the output region. So this is the truth table of tri-state inverter or tri-state pad, and the major condition we should prevent is the short circuit current during transition. And we also have bidirectional pads in which we combine the input pad plus the tri-state output buffer. So here you connect the output again to the input. This is called the bidirectional pad. So that's all for this lecture. Thank you.